because 18 years ago, your parents had a choice whether to choose their children or to choose their religion, and they chose their religion. Hello everybody, we are back for another little gab with Abigail. If you aren't back and this is your first time on the channel, hi, welcome to Gabs with Abigail, where we talk about the Bates and Duggars and other D-list fundies. So as you can see, oh my god, and hi to all of my new subscribers. Thank you everybody who has commented about that they're a new subscriber, so I could say hey and thank you. Appreciate you for joining us for this little chat. But, so this is clearly I'm going to try and make it quick, but I'm fresh off the night routine, and it's just been on my heart to talk about this. So I was doing research basically for another video, and I had already started it, so I was returning to some links that I had saved, and this one came up, and I felt like it was just really the time to react and discuss it. So that's what we're going to do today. In 2003, Michelle Duggar wrote an article for Parents Magazine. And why I want to talk about it is just in light of all the Josh stuff, it's just so telling about how they handled this situation. I mean, this was literally when this article was written, when Josh has come to the parents a second time to discuss the fact that he has been his sisters, that he's been touching them inappropriately. And it's just, to me, like the gall, okay, to sit your little tiny ass down and write an article about being a parent. So let's go ahead and read this and react to this in real time. I just think it's really crazy, though, that she would, again, have the gall to be writing about being a parent during this time in her life. Like, you have so much else on your plate besides the 14 freaking kids that you have at this point. Like, there's literal mess going on in your family. So let's go ahead and just read the article. Today is brought to you by, instead of me eating something, I'm going to be drinking this sparkling water, which is my last sparkling water, and I don't know why I'm talking about it, but I love sparkling water. I really do. Raising 14 kids. If you think your life is hectic, consider what it's like raising and homeschooling this many children. Here, one mom shares her story of her family and her faith. Introduction. Compared with the average American family, ours is very unusual. Yeah, on average, I don't think, you know what? My husband, Jim Bob, and I have 14 children. Oh, that's what's unusual. Okay. We've been blessed with 9 boys and 5 girls. So it's even, like, I'm going to already pause there. It's even wild to think that at the time that this was happening, Josh was molesting all but one of his sisters. I'm going to say that again. He was molesting all but one of his sisters. That's sick. I like, in the context of how he now has 9, I never even thought about this. That at the time that he was, committing these crimes, basically all but one sister. Our oldest son, Joshua, is 15. The youngest, Justin, is 10 months. We're evangelical Christians and decided to let God dictate the size of our family. To us, each child is a joy, a gift from the Lord. And I want to also mention the fact that, so probably what made them even write this article was having the special on TLC. So this was probably promotion. It was already sketch and shady that they were comfortable with still going forward with the special, with going on TV and talking about your family and Christian values when your child was making these kinds of choices to 4/5 of your daughters. Like, that's crazy. Let's think about that as a statistic. 80% of your children, of your daughters. And okay. All right. We live in a part of the country where many people share our beliefs. Springdale, a city of 50,000 in northwest Arkansas. Like many families we know, We homeschool our kids. We feel it's the best way to teach our Christian values. Above all, we want to inspire our children to turn their hearts towards God. We already know how crazy and psycho ATI is. We feel it's the best way to teach our Christian values. And the best way to teach your Christian values on purity created this. Plenty of parents get frazzled with only a couple of children, so people wonder, how can we possibly take care of 14? Believe it or not, I do not find it all that difficult. And why I find like this is like just absolutely insane that she would write and say is that this should have probably been one of the most challenging parts of being a parent at this time for you, if not organizationally, if not functionally, but emotionally, that plenty of parents get frazzled. You should have been at this point in your life beyond frazzled. Okay? You're beyond frazzled. You have a CPS case. You have a police case, okay? And even like in juvenile court, I want to say, okay? Like you have trauma that's going on in your house. And of course, your brand of Christianity and Christian values, as prefaced in the previous paragraph, doesn't allow you to see that. And so how dare you compare yourself, though, to other parents as frazzled. People who make worse life decisions than you would, who don't share your Christian values, when I say worse, have never experienced this level of frazzled in their house. To have a child come to them and say, I am touching my little sisters. You who are the most devout, supposed to be the most like at the highest levels of this kind of pure, spiritual achievement, this idea of godliness, this biblical womanhood and manhood that is supposed to be raising up these strong young soldiers for Christ. And this is what is going on in your house at this time. Okay, but you don't find it all that difficult. One key is organization. A huge master schedule for all of our kids' activities nearly covers a door in our kitchen, which even, I don't even know. And with this master schedule, you couldn't keep track of everybody, which I guess she's going to get into with the buddy system. I also keep a weekday schedule for each child. Jim Bob doesn't work a typical 9-to-5 job. He's a real estate investor and is involved in local politics. He served in our state legislature for 4 years and last year ran unsuccessfully for the U.S. Senate primary. He's busy but manages to find time to come home during the day to help out. Which is nice. Involved father. Who doesn't want that, right? The dream. Unrelated to the sweater. Our household runs smoothly because everyone pitches in. Each older child acts as a buddy to a younger one. Should I have read this in Michelle's baby voice? I can't do her baby voice. Each child acts as a buddy to a younger one. In the morning, the older siblings make sure the younger buddies are changed, washed, and dressed. They watch over them at meals, help them with their schoolwork, and even put them down for naps. The infamous buddy system. Now, I want you to remember at this time in 2003, right, when this article is being written, Jessa is 11, Jill is 12, Jana is 13, 14, Ginger is 10. No matter what you want to say, how you want to phrase it, this is still kind of like a lot of responsibility to be putting on young children. Like they are in fact still children, very young age to be taking on this kind of level of responsibility because your mother wants to keep having children, basically. And that there's only 5 girls, and as we see with, in future episodes of the Counting On, which I just got in the mail, the DVDs. I'm going to have the best night ever tonight. But when they break down the buddy systems, the girls are at the center of them, right? So these 5 daughters are these 4 daughters really are at the center of each buddy system. And that's just really kind of insane.
The older kids have their other chores too, like cleaning the garage and helping prepare meals. We do chores as opportunities to serve the family and serve God.
You know what? Everybody should do chores. I'm not going to complain about that.
Our mornings are busy. I nurse the baby, get the kids breakfast, and then we come together for morning prayers. After that, the older kids might do schoolwork, or practice violin, or piano. I do chores and try to keep the little ones occupied.
In the afternoon, I conduct our school. We work on some subjects as a group, and I also give each child projects appropriate for his or her grade level. I have to stop and mention this because that is like hallmark to ATI, which is that you're supposed to be able to do all of the wisdom booklets together, and that is the curriculum no matter what age. It can apply from little 10-month-old Justin up to 15-year-old Predator Josh. Our curriculum emphasizes character, honesty, integrity, initiative, and responsibility. Our motto is joy. For Jesus first, others second, yourself last, which is something that also comes up for the Bates. I had to talk about this motto. So even from within this, right, this idea of joy, how even this puts you in, can make you so easily susceptible to being a victim for abuse, right? Jesus first, and even within the context of Jesus, all of the things that Christian patriarchy, like as a movement, as a belief, forces you to submit to and talks you into in the name of serving Jesus, okay? So that is always first and foremost, the first thing is that commitment to Jesus. And it is defined to you by other Christians and how they are interpreting the Bible, right? Others second, right? So you're serving other people before you serve yourself, and you serve yourself last. And why I just think this is such a toxic motto is because you're self last. So at what point then are you serving yourself, right? If you don't ever serve your own self and your emotions and process those and assess those, how could you be serving others? Like at some point those things are interchangeable where they fall in terms of being the number one priority in your life. And again, I just do think this narrative sets you up for abuse and to be a victim, because if you are always serving others first, Jesus first, this message and mission that says you can suffer because you served others, you can suffer because you served Jesus, and it's yourself last because at the end your reward comes from when you get to meet Jesus, and that is just insane and toxic. And it's why we have the kind of situations that we have where Jill and Jessa are going onto Megyn Kelly and crying out that they aren't victims, that Josh isn't X, Y, and Z, because when you're serving others, and Jesus first, your family as a whole unit, rather than thinking about your interests and your trauma and processing how you might actually be feeling, that's the kind of stuff that happens. Continuing the article. We usually all eat dinner together at around 5 p.m. The 3 oldest plan and prepare evening meals. They like to do that because they get to choose the menus. Okay. Our day ends with baths and then Bible study with Daddy. The boys sleep in the master bedroom and the girls sleep in a room with bunk beds. At this point, they would have been locking the doors for the girls' rooms, that's all I'm going to say.
Jim, Bob, and I have a small room, but we're in the process of building a bigger house soon, so we'll have more space. Once the kids are in bed, Jim, Bob, and I have a little time alone together. Our schedule is less hectic on weekends, with Saturdays for rest and Sundays for worship.
Page 2.
Everyday tasks, like grocery shopping, are more complicated when you're doing them for 16 people. We spend about $1,500 a month on food. The last time we went shopping, we filled 5 carts. Our dry pantry is stuffed with 50-pound bags of rice and beans. We've also got 2 deep freezers and an industrial-sized fridge. When fruit goes on sale, we might buy 7 bags of apples and 5 bags of oranges at a time. That fruit could be gone in 2 or 3 days. Thanks, Michelle. For the laundry, I have a wonderful friend from church who comes by twice a week to help. We've got 2 washers, 3 dryers, and 1 giant closet where we store clothes for the entire family. When we go out to eat, it takes a couple hours to get everybody ready. The kids sometimes dress in matching outfits to help us keep track of them. They've got 10 matching sets. We also feel that dressing alike unifies us. As far as cars, we have a bus that seats 24. For smaller trips, we have a 15-passenger van, and we also have a mobile home for vacations.
I know people wonder, how are we able to support such a large family? For one thing, our real estate investments have been successful, but we also live modestly and debt-free. Like the Bible says, let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another. Almost everything we buy is secondhand or from estate sales. I sew a lot of our clothing. We're saving for our children's education, but we figure only some will want to go to college. Others might go into ministry or learn a trade. I really don't worry about money. God provides amazingly for us. If our children turn toward Him, I believe He will do the same for them. So let's talk about that, right? So y'all don't even do this for money? I think that is my favorite lie about this. So why then, that they don't do this for money, right? So why then, in the midst of all of this trauma that your family should be going through, in the midst of something very difficult that you should be walking through, right? Because it either means that you didn't take it very serious or that the bag was more worth it. See, they're going to say, oh, it's because of the ministry aspect. We didn't want to lose the opportunity of being able to spread the ministry of our family. You have some going on in your family because of this quote unquote ministry, right? That you're trying to pass on the blame to something else. Like, I can understand wanting to keep going forward with it and saying, oh, it's just a mistake. This isn't the ministry at fault. When Josh came to y'all the first time, but when he came to y'all a second time and said, I am still doing these behaviors, the fact that you decided to write an article telling us extolling how great of a parent you are, right? How you make your family work, how God makes things work for y'all, how God sees you through these things. You don't worry financially at all. And even how that is just so annoying, because people who live a similar lifestyle to them during this time, this quiverful lifestyle, a lot of them struggle financially. So to me, it just seems like big BS that you guys did not see this as a money opportunity for what is probably a very, very expensive family lifestyle, right? I mean, spending $1,500 a month on food for your family, I mean, yes, cost of living is everything depending on where you're living, but that you probably aren't buying the best food, right? The Duggars become famous for the damn tater tot casserole, right? Which is an easy and cheap and convenient meal that is by no means super nutritious. But you aren't doing this for money. Like, I cannot emphasize enough the big BS. And why also that I have to emphasize that is because Jill later talks about that, how her family, how her mother and father were saying that, oh, there really isn't money involved. We're not doing this for money. It's for our ministry, to spread our ministry to other people. No, you guys were getting paid. You were collecting a check. And you chose that over the well-being of your family. When you were going through something really difficult emotionally, you still decided to bring cameras into your home, have your children put on a front of what their lifestyle is like. And even if it's the case that, oh, well, Josh did this to them at night, they didn't know, they were asleep. That's one, from the police reports, we know that's not true of all of the siblings. Like, we know some of them were awake. These are memories that they have, especially for the siblings who caught this and went and reported it to their parents, right? Because it wasn't only just Josh telling on himself, right? So the idea that you guys consciously made this choice, that you were going to choose this over your family, for people who it's like, oh, we are big on family. We support our family. We see this as serving our family. You enriched your family, but financially, not necessarily emotionally. And while there is so much brainwashing involved with how they live for them to be able to process this, is just, I cannot believe it, because no matter what you want to pretend and what you want to purport, like, I understand years down the road, right? There's forgiveness, there's redemption. I mean, the fact that he didn't physically do what could be the worst possible things, and it exists within this group, within this cult. Like, what's sad, like what I mean about this is a trauma, is that he's not the only person in this group to do this, which it's a pattern of behaviors. That there was something in place to deal with this means something, right? Most people would take that as a red flag, as a sign, and they didn't. And that is, right, nobody wants to be Everybody hates socialism, but my God, did Marx get it right when he said religion is the opiate of the masses, because this doesn't make any sense that you would think that this was okay. And that's why, again, I call big BS when you say that this, y'all didn't need, y'all are fine financially, right? Did TLC not help them finish their house? Like, but she's getting an article in Parents Magazine.
People also ask us what the children think about shouldering so much responsibility. I tell them that this is the only life my children have known. I don't think they resent their workload. The older ones like being needed and looked up to, and the younger children love their buddies. The little ones always have someone to play with. When the kids fight, I usually encourage them to settle their problems on their own. If they can't, I'll take away the toy they're fighting over for a few days. They get a lot of opportunities to practice sharing and taking turns. I realize our lifestyle isn't for everyone. Last year I was pregnant, nursing a child, and looking after 12 more. A lot of people wonder, how do you manage? But this is my calling. This is what I love.
When Jib Bob and I got married 19 years ago, we didn't expect to have this many children. I'm the youngest of 7, which is kind of a big family miss. My husband is one of 2, but now we think it's possible that we'll have even more. As far as we're concerned, that would be wonderful. We really desire to receive as many gifts as the Lord wants to give us. By Michelle Duggar. And it's just like, God gave you all these gifts, and how did you I don't ever want to say that they don't love their children, right? That would be a lie. They obviously do love their kids. And I mean, I'm not going to get into the not knowing your children because you have 19 of them. I say this all to say, it's a mess, honey. It's a mess. And I think it's interesting that it took until the Oprah thing for the authorities to get involved, because they had confessed this to everybody in their home church when it happened. When Josh told them, they told the home church, right? What was it? When it came out in 2015, there have been so many people who survived IBLP, ATI, and, who survived and left, I should say, and said, like, this wasn't anything new to us because we all already knew it. So that's why when everybody is just like about this whole Anna thing, oh, how could she? Everybody knew, and it was normal. Like, there was a pattern of this behavior within their group. Okay, there's an article that I read on Recovering Grace where somebody is talking about how, like, one of his friends keeps telling him how he can't stop touching his little sisters. Like, this is regular, like, a pattern within the group. And you have all of these, like, brainwashing doctrines about purity and resisting lust and eye traps and all of that prevents people from realizing the muck and the filth that they're being subjected to and being told they need to accept and call okay. It's a mess, honey. It's a mess. And their family does love each other. All of those things are genuinely true. And it's just sad that they were victims of being in a cult. And it is what it is. Like, that really is what it is. And we are seeing now these big societal ramifications. We have to see them played out on this grand scheme with every sibling brought into it, because 18 years ago, your parents had a choice whether to choose their children or to choose their religion, and they chose their religion. And they told themselves that by choosing their religion, they were choosing their children, and that just was a lie. That was a lie. You chose your religion over your children. And every night you go to sleep with this idea that by choosing this particular manner of God, that I am now choosing my family. And it was big BS. And what I will say is that for all of the emotional trauma that Jim Bob had as a child, right, he passed it on to his children without intending to, right, with all the best intentions. Like, I will say that nobody joins a cult with bad intentions, right? That is the truth. And I just feel personally, right, where I can feel the sympathy of, like, nobody joins a cult on purpose. Nobody joins a cult to make bad choices, to have bad things happen. It's when you get to a point as an adult who got jumped in and then raised your children in that, when you can't see when it's hurting your children, that we have to remove that kind of excuse for you, right? You no longer get to participate in that excuse of, like, you joined a cult, right? We now have to look at you and say, like, I'm sorry, but when Josh came to you a second time and said that he was still inappropriately touching his little sisters, that a 5-year-old. One of them was 5. 5. I'm going to say that one more time. One of them was 5. Like, even, I'm about to get off topic. Like, the fact that Jessa tried to say that in her interview with Megyn Kelly, and I understand this is from the brainwashing, right? This is from the indoctrination that he isn't a and how upsetting it is to hear that. But he was just curious. Joy was 5. I don't know any 15-year-old boy who when they are curious sexually, looks to younger children. Like, if you watch the Big Duggar Family album or 14 Kids and Pregnant Again, so which comes out basically after this article, like I said, TLC, Discovery Channel was setting us up, right? They probably had her do that promotion with Parents Magazine. When that is shot, right, looking at Jessa and like Ginger, like, these are very, very young girls who barely even have breasts to touch, right? If anything, Jana, who was the only person who was not named as a victim, would have been the only one who was really kind of developing, her and Jill. And so to think, for you to get on television and defend this behavior and say that this isn't what he's like is kind of a lie. And it's just, and again, like I said, I don't want to blame them because of how they were raised, how they were conditioned. And also, I'm sure in a place of wanting to heal, not wanting to think of your brother like that, and to want to forgive him and to pray that out of him and to say that that's not who this person is. So it's just really, really very, very, very crazy. It's crazy. It is crazy. And yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So that's that. I think I've said everything that I want to say. Again, like I said, I really do want to read and review Michelle Duggar's book, A Love That Multiplies. And the reason why is because she gives in the introduction, she calls whatever is described in the book the worst thing that her family has ever walked through as a family together, which I thought was insane to me, because I know if I found out my eldest child was my daughters, that would probably be the worst thing that I ever walked through as a parent and as a fucking family, right? So I'm really curious as to what it is in that book that she describes as the worst thing that her family, that she felt like they had to walk through, that she had to personally walk through, as the most trying thing in her life. And that's why I say it is all big BS that they don't do this for money, right? The worst and most traumatic thing that happened in your family wasn't the molestation of your daughters. It was something that you were able to commodify and put into a fucking book and sell to people. But you're a Christian, right? But you're saved, right? But you're godly, right? It's weird how blurred that line gets when money is involved, when a bag is calling, bro. I promise you, right? I'm going to do a video about that in a couple of weeks about Christian influencers, because I just have a couple side-eye things that I want to get off my chest about. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry about this heavy topic. I just had to get it out there. I know I look a mess. Well, I don't look a mess, but like, I didn't want my hair to touch my freshly washed face, you know what I mean? Normally I would have a bonnet on, and I just felt like that was doing too much for the video, okay? But thanks you guys for having a gab with me. See you for the next video. I promise we really are going to keep up with the Rodriguez. It's filmed. I'm editing it, obviously, as you saw from the preview. And that will be, and then the next video for sure.
It's like, you niggas gotta stop acting weird. You niggas gotta stop acting weird. You niggas gotta stop acting weird.